Rudy Giuliani is back in the news again, not for failure to pay his lawyers, but with new allegations that he groped a White House staffer during his time in the Trump administration. This time, the allegations are coming from former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson. You guys might remember that name because she did testify to the January 6th committee with some incredible accounts of Mark Meadows, as well as Donald Trump himself, potentially, and I believe this was from her, trying to drive himself to the Capitol, but was barred by doing so by Secret Service. But she has a new book out and she is alleging that Rudy Giuliani groped her. So she's a former aide turned crucial January 6th witness. And she says in a new book that she was groped by Rudy Giuliani, who was, quote, like a wolf closing in on its prey. And get this, on what day? On the day of the Capitol attack, people. So this is one of the biggest days in history, in our lifetime. What's Rudy Giuliani doing? According to her, this is alleged, trying to get handsy. Touching, just like in a time of a lot of intensity, just when a problem comes along, just grope it. Just grope it. That's Rudy Giuliani, apparently, which is just wild. There's more. She says that the former mayor put his hand up her blazer and then my skirt. She says, I feel his frozen fingers, oh God, I feel his frozen fingers trail up my thigh. He tilts his chin up. The whites of his eyes look jaundiced. My eyes dart to Trump advisor John Eastman, who flashes a leering grin. Quote, I fight against the tension of my muscles and recoil from Rudy's grip. Filled with rage, I storm through the tent on yet another quest for Mark Meadows. Just like that whole scene, and yes, it is a book. It is written to engender that kind of response from readers. But that is wild, Mondale. Like that is absolutely terrifying and wild. And here she is, and she's trying to be again an aide to the Trump administration, an aide to Mark Meadows. She's trying to help him be aware of what's going on the ground, be aware of the fact that there might be armed people at the Capitol building steps, and she's being aggressed upon by another staffer, and then John Eastman giving her like a smile. What do they think is gonna happen right now?
Well, they're thinking their strong man is about to take over America's government, and it doesn't matter that they're groping her because they can grope anybody because it's his rules, right? So if you set the context and what she's saying, they're thinking, oh, we're about to take over this government, and the wokeness is gonna go away, and this is it. This is what we're gonna be able to do this because the president said we could just grab them because we're stars now, right? We led through this moment. It is absolutely disgusting that someone went through this, not just because it's disgusting, Rudy. It's disgusting in general. Yeah. And the fact that she said another quest for Mark Meadows was just seeing how many times he's gonna let her down that day. So that means he probably also, if this happened and she found him on her quest for him, he probably was aware that she was groped by Rudy Giuliani and never said anything or held him accountable, which is even more disgusting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you imagine that day, there are far more pressing issues. I imagine that she didn't bring it up with her boss, Mark Meadows, but maybe that he knew, right? But it's so sickening, it's so gross. If it is true, of course, because it's a sexual assault allegation and we live in hell times, it's going to always be called a lie. And in fact, a Giuliani spokesperson, political advisor, and I guess the last person who will represent him in the public sphere, Ted Goodman, said, quote, it's fair to ask Cassidy Hutchinson why she is just coming out now with these allegations from 2.5 years ago as part of the marketing campaign for an upcoming book release. Now, I will say this, when I saw the book release, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But let me ask you, when is it a good point to talk about this, right? Like when, because on the stand in January 6th, or I mean, during the hearings, she's not gonna be asked about this. Why would she mention it? It might seem even more out of place to talk about it there than in her book where she's talking about her time in the Trump administration. Also, again, And this is what I don't get, man. First of all, I don't get why any young woman in politics would want to work for the Trump administration. Let's set that at a baseline, right? But even within that, this is a true believer who stood by the administration, who was like there till the end, and she's getting groped, she's getting ignored, and yeah, she obviously, when she was called to testify, right, by senators, by representatives, she's gonna do her duty and testify. She's not going to do what Peter Navarro did and just like abscond and leave, right? So, and then she gets thrown under the bus again. So I guess my thing is like, what does she have to lose? This is her time to tell her truth, to tell her side of the story, and this actually happened. And can we believe that Rudy would do this? Yeah, we can, because his actual staffer has accused him of rampant sexual abuse throughout many years, saying, quote, "I want to own you." That's a former employee in an audio transcript, apparently, that was filed in a New York lawsuit that again has many horrible details about Rudy Giuliani's sexual proclivities and preferences in the context of them being completely non-consensual and effectively assault. Again, alleged, but Mondale, what is she supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Just like this is someone who's gonna go to bat for this administration, and you're gonna grope her? What are you doing? You guys are such idiots. That reminds me of the staffers on like, on Herschel Walker's campaign being groped. This dude's working for Herschel Walker. You know how few people want to work for Herschel Walker's campaign? Like, and you're gonna grope him? Come on.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, it's just plays back into this idea that the Republican Party is beyond lost. Like this is like I don't even think they're getting what you're saying, that this young woman is working for you guys. She is a writer, right?
Yeah.
And you are still trying to take advantage of her. You're still ignoring her. Like they're not hearing that. That doesn't register that there are so few people of that demographic that considers your place as a safe place for them, or see themselves in your policies or administration or your lifestyle. No one that fits Cassidy Hutchinson's demeanor or demographic wants to be associated with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
So and then to go a step further, and then I'll shut up.
No.
Who the hell wrote the timeline on when she can come out and tell her truth? You lost the right to say when she can and can't say something when you touched her without her consent, period.
Right, and like, it's also like, oh, perfect timing, just when Rudy Giuliani's star is rising. Like, come on, just when he landed a deal with the Masked Singer, which he was on. But no, Rudy Giuliani, like, this is the perfect time to come out with it. Like, Rudy Giuliani's not, he is going down in a ball of flames. Like, it just, what's one more thing? It's after these other sexual assault allegations. And here's the last thing I'm gonna say about this. Again, to women in the Republican Party, the golden parachute, the pardon list, you're not on it. You're not on it. I'm sorry, I wish you were. I wish women, I wish people of color were seen as equals, even when they serve a disgusting and racist administration like Trump administration. They're not. You're not gonna be included, okay? Which is why Cassidy Hutchinson was actually felt like she could and did testify with the full truth of all the wild stuff that she witnessed herself on January 6th. This probably being like number 20 on the list of wild things that happened on January 6th. But just remember that, okay? No matter, like, for the Viveks out there trying to appeal to the white supremacist base, trying to be the next MAGA, no, you're never gonna fully get there, because they're never going to write you in to, again, their little golden parachute, their island of corrupt refugees. It's never gonna happen, sorry.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.